You've probably heard about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sports betting app. But here's something you may not know. FanDuel has a standalone casino app called Betfair Casino. With Betfair Casino, you can play real casino games to win real cash right from your phone. Best of all, you can play your first 24 hours risk-free and up to $200 cash back in site credit if you lose. Download the Betfair Casino app or visit FanDuel.com/Pandora. 21 plus and present in New Jersey. Must have not previously made any real money wagers at Betfair Casino. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Conversations. Today I will be reviewing Season 1, Episode 5 of the Netflix series Girlboss. Girlboss is a series based on the book by the same name, written by Sophia Amoruso, and it is all about the rise of Nasty Gal vintage from reselling on eBay into a like 100 million plus company. One girl started at the age of 23 and built this enormous empire and has a wonderful success story. And I'm reviewing every episode to bring you the key takeaways and the key things that she did to build her business as one person into this huge company that later had venture funding and later was sold off, and all kinds of things happened later. But we want to talk about the beginning. So, Episode 5, Season 1. The name of this episode is called Top 8, and this particular episode is about 70% angst, girl angst, and the rest is the key things that are important for reselling. So, as I've said in earlier reviews, this series really goes off on a tangent with trying to develop the character and the story of this young girl, and it kind of gets lost in all of that, but they're trying to make some points their own way, and I got their points. And I will tell you, this binge watching over and over again, what's so interesting about it is you see things you didn't see the first time, and I think it's really important that when you're watching a show, you go back and see it again if you like it, because you miss so many things. I mean, I found myself pausing the Netflix so I could really see what they were showing, because in editing, it's so quick and you really miss things. And I found so many things in this episode, and I kept pausing and looking and really studying. So here we go. So we find Sophia on the pier of near the water in San Francisco. She's there with her best friend Annie, and she is conducting a photo shoot. She has an Eastern European model there that is modeling her clothes, and we see her taking the photos herself. We learned that she met this person on MySpace, the model, and agreed to give her prints in exchange, for her modeling portfolio, in exchange for her doing the work for free. So that's how that happened, and we are shown Sophia wearing a really awesome white vintage Gucci sweatshirt with a big logo on the front to really kind of symbolizes the fact that she's, more involved with the vintage. She's really been out finding it, and she's starting to wear it. So I thought that was terrific. So there's a whole section of them taking the photos, and her friend Annie is interacting with the model that she doesn't really care for. She's kind of like scary smart girl, and it's kind of funny stuff. But anyway, they're basically just trying to make the point that she's now got someone besides herself modeling the clothes. So she's moved on to that next level. We then see Sophia back in her apartment with her friend Annie, and there she is posting photos on her MySpace page from that photo shoot. And this is where I really paused Netflix, and I was, really trying to study what they were showing, because they've recreated, the eBay pages and the MySpace pages to be authentic from that year. And I am old enough to have been all through MySpace. I was busy promoting my music at that time, because I'm a singer. course, y'all know that if you've been following me. But singer and songwriter. But anyway, I was using MySpace for music, but she was using it to promote Nasty Gal Vintage. So when you study the MySpace page, they really show you so many things that I want to point out. And you will not pick this up with just your first watch. You've really got to study it. But on her page, you see that she has her picture, like her own individual picture, and beside it, it says, new dresses in store now. So like she's promoting that she has new inventory. Then on a separate part of MySpace, you see that she's promoting her blog. Click here to read my blog. Then you see a notice about her auctions and when they start on Sundays. Live auctions start again on Sundays. So I guess every Sunday she would start her auctions, because at that time, again, eBay didn't have buy it now. It was just auctions. And so you see a picture of this model in the outfit that they had just taken the photos of at the pier, and she's just dropped it in to show an example of what these clothes are going to look like that are going to be on auction, which is brilliant. Now, her friend happens to look over and see what she's doing and noticing that she's making these edits, and then her friend says, oh my gosh, you have over 5,000 MySpace friends. And just like today with Twitter and Instagram and all these other platforms, people get all excited when people have thousands of followers. So in this sense, MySpace was one of the original follower/friend platforms, and she had over 5,000. And so she went on to explain, and this is so important because it goes back to the last episode on customer service. She said, Lady Shopper 99 had posted photos of herself in the vintage wedding dress and linked to her MySpace page. And she said she just started getting tons and tons of friends requests. But that isn't how she got 5,000 followers, though, okay? But she said it got her thinking about, well, more friends means more customers to buy her vintage clothing. So I thought that was great that, we could see kind of what she made of all of that. So she says, I bought an illegal bot off of Craigslist. And so her friend Annie's like, well, what's that? And she says, well, it's a computer program that takes friends of friends of friends and then sorts them and blah, blah, blah. And so the editing cuts, you don't really get the final say on what it is, but you get the gist. And she bought a bot, just like you can buy a bot now and get all kinds of fake friends and fake followers. But that's not what this was doing. This was getting her real people that would potentially be interested in her because they were friends of friends of friends. So it's the same type of customer or same type of person potentially that the Lady Shopper 99 represented. So I thought that was really cool. So it was very targeted, right? So that is one of the ways she was able to bump up her friends to 5,000. So let's think about that. She is got this MySpace page where she's building a mailing list. She's driving people to her online store. She's driving people to her auctions. And she also has a link to her MySpace page that's obviously on there so that if someone comes there, they can, I guess, refer to other people. But so it goes into what her top 8 are. And if you remember MySpace at all, the big deal was who was your top 8. And your top 8 people were the people that you could see on the profile page without going, any further. And so her top 8 was Oprah, Vogue, Nylon, which is a magazine, Tyra Banks, Daily Candy, Marc Jacobs, the designer, New York Fashion Week, and Agent Provocateur. So I thought that was a really interesting top 8. So her friend Annie notices she's not in her top 8 anymore. And this is the whole part of the drama starts because it's a really big deal if you're not in the top 8. So, or if you are, if you aren't. So her friend's like, well, what happened? And she's like, well, I'm using my MySpace page to get Nasty Gal out there. And she's like, well, put me back on. And she's like, no. She goes, no, really, it's easy. You just grab my picture and put it over someone else's. And she's like, no, you may not be in my top 8, but you're in my apartment. Isn't that enough? And then her friend's getting all upset. She's like, I'm telling you I care about this. And, she's really upset because she's not responding. So obviously she's hurt personally that she would fall off her top 8, that she would, use it only to promote her business. And so that begins the riff, the latest riff of girl drama. It has nothing to do with reselling, but nonetheless, it's they go down that rabbit hole, and we learn all kinds of things about Sophia at that point. So what happens next is that the episode starts to go back in time, goes back back to 2001. So that's puts her at about the age 18. So they go to find out how those two met. So it goes back to when they're 18. They met. It's pretty funny. They met at a baseball game, but in the jail, the baseball game jail. so when you act up at the baseball game, they put you in the baseball game jail, or holding pen or whatever it is. And so that's how they met. And Sophia was in there because she basically got a ball that was hit, wrestled it off of a 5-year-old. So it was pretty bad, and they thought that was really bad form. And so, she had all kinds of excuses. No, the kid dropped it. No, blah, blah, blah. But obviously she had used nefarious means to get that ball from the little 5-year-old kid. So this is telling you about her. So Annie just happens to be in the corner, and she's in there because she was flashing something up on the Jumbotron to get the attention of a baseball player, we learn. And so that's how they meet. And I think what's really interesting about this episode is that it's showing you more into her character, Sophia's written character for the show, is that she's she's a bit I don't want to say she's very street, and she's got street smarts, but she's like angry, but and edgy, but she's sort of like just does whatever she can to win, to like manipulate the situation, to sort of get what she needs to function. And she's just mad at the whole world. And so it's this side of her that's very kind of cold and like cut off. It's the side that didn't have a mother. And so when you think about it, and they get into it in this episode, is that she didn't have a loving mother. And what comes out is that the two girls, after the time when they let them out of the baseball jail or whatever, and they're walking out, and the character gets hassled, Sophia, by someone who saw her kind of with that scene with the ball and tries to get out of her. But her friend Annie's on a little, not a motorcycle, but with those small little bikes. And so she gets on like a moped or something and rescues her. And they say this really important line. And she says, I didn't need your help. And she goes, yeah, but you took it. And that is important for later in the series. And, I kind of didn't pick up on that the first 5 times I saw the episode. But she helps her out. She takes her home on the moped and goes up to her apartment and kind of spends a little bit of time with her. And that's when we learn a little more about Sophia's character, and that she's really, really mad at the world because her mother basically dumped her with her dad, which was going to be 2 weeks, and it ended up being 2 years. So we learn that her mother leaves her with her father, and so she's got a lot of angst about that. And that gives her sort of that, not very pleasant side to her that comes out every so often in this series because of not having a solid foundation at home. So they're making that point. So anyway, they go on to show kind of how they met and all the little drama they get into as young girls, 18 or 20 or 23, going hitchhiking to Coachella and all this kind of thing, and stealing things from convenience stores and all this kind of thing. So they get in a bind when they're out at Coachella one year, and they end up with all their money's gone, their food is gone, they can't get a hotel, and they're just sort of on like staying in a motel pool side because they can't get a room at the motel. And Annie's like, let me just call my parents to come get us. And she's like, no, I have this plan. I was gonna meet this band at Coachella and just learn the violin and run away with them. And it just goes to show you how immature her thinking was at that age. And her friend's like, well, what about me? What was I supposed to do? So Sophia is super selfish, and she's super young and super lost. She doesn't have anyone guiding her, and she's just kind of out there trying to do her own thing and not in a very good way. So this is all important to know about this person, because this is the same person who figures out how to use MySpace, who figures out how to market her business online using the social media at the time, who figures all this out. And so it's kind of cool to know that she wasn't someone who was just super privileged and some parents just said, here's a couple $1,000,000, form a company. No, this girl totally created this from scratch with her own instincts and her own sense of how to do things. So I think that's really important. So anyway, at the end of this situation where they're like together at poolside, and this is key for later in the show, is that they were afraid something bad would happen to them. And there's this really quiet moment when they basically said, in case anything happens, I love you in case we die, right, is the phrase. And they use that later in the series. And she's like, don't leave me. And her friend Annie says, no, I won't, I promise. And so we see Sophia reflecting on all these last 5 years with her friend, all the things they've been through. We see them at bars and just, we see this really angry, edgy, hard side of Sophia and her friend, who's sort of always there on the side, taking care of things, making sure things are okay for them. And so she reflects on that and realizes it's an important relationship. And then at the last minute, we see her putting Annie's photo, dragging it over Tyra Banks on her MySpace 8. Annie notices that at home and gives her a call and thanks her. And so, that was the episode. So it was really more about the angst. So, but if you kind of go back to the beginning, it's really about MySpace. And she was using it so sophisticated. It was just, can't talk. Such a sophisticated way to do it, because if you look at who her top 8 were, Vogue magazine is fashion, Oprah Winfrey, the always been very popular, Tyra Banks, model, Daily Candy. Now this is a big one. I remember Daily Candy, and that was, let me tell you, in its heyday, it was a big deal, because Daily Candy, if you were mentioned in Daily Candy, it was something you really needed to see, something that was hot and trendy and current. New York Fashion Week, I thought that was great. Marc Jacobs, who's obviously was a hot designer then, and Agent Provocateur, which shows that she's edgy, because that's very edgy undergarments. So, you can attract a certain kind of friend on MySpace by being connected to this group of 8. And yeah, so what I said about episode 4 is that she put all that work into making sure Lady Shopper 99 was happy with this vintage dress. And then, of course, this is the ultimate payoff, is when someone tells other people and feels good enough about it to share where they bought it, share the experience. And that is really, really an important point. So if we had to sum it up, and this will be a lot shorter than my other ones because they just didn't give me a lot to go on in this episode. This episode, the takeaway is number 1, using social media of your time. So obviously this is back in the day, 2006, but the social media of your time, use it to promote your business. So these days we have Instagram and MySpace and Twitter and Pinterest and on and on and on it goes, and TikTok. So using social media to promote your business is a great idea. Using it effectively, number 2, by having the right type of friends and following, people that you're following, because those people will go through those follower lists and find people that are interesting to them. The other important thing is the use of photographs. Again, she's promoting her clothing on models now that aren't her. It's a very different look, like she's a brunette and yet she was using like a blonde model. So that shows like 2 different type of women wearing vintage, and it gave a wonderful edge to her clothes. The other thing too is she's continuing to do the photography. She's doing it herself, and she's being very creative about how to pay for things. And I think bartering is such an important thing that we have forgotten about. We don't talk about it much, but I do all kinds of bartering with things that I'm involved with and trading services and things like that. And I absolutely agree with that 100%. Is there's so many creative ways to get things without paying for them, Let me help you with this, I'll help you with that. And I think if there's something you're trying to achieve and you don't have the cash for it, and there's a way to barter or trade services, you absolutely should consider that. It's just a fantastic way to not spend money. And again, MySpace was free, just like it's free to use Instagram, and she was using her time and investing in all of that. I love the fact that she had a blog. I didn't realize she had a blog until I stopped the free and did the freeze frame on the MySpace page. So she had a blog. So she was constantly being in touch with people. She had these auctions every week. She was advertising it, growing her following. It's all the things that we're doing now. Now, the illegal bot thing, I think is kind of funny because, you can always tell when someone has fake followers. It's so obvious. I mean, it's you can tell by the name. You can tell it's like, it'll have like a name, and then it'll have like 6 numbers after it and something like that instead of a full name. It's so easy to see that. And I think there's no value in fake followers at all, because I think it's more important for something to be authentic and to grow your following that way. But, there are plenty of people who buy fake followers on all kinds of social media, and it does make an impression like, oh, they have that many followers. There must be a lot of people interested in what they have to say or what they have to do. So that does happen. And it's just interesting that she didn't think twice about it, but that's who she is. She's the girl who finds a way to get done what she needs to do without having to pay for it, or to pay for it wisely. So she wasn't paying the model, but I'll bet you money she was paying the illegal bot to follow the people on MySpace. So, that really gets into how to use, that's an important point of the series, is how are you going to use the money that you do have? What are the things that you must pay for? And what are the things that you have a possibility to trade for or to barter for? It's something really to think about. I think the one thing that is a little bit subtle in this episode is that one of the things Sophia, the character, is struggling with is she really wants to do all this herself. She wants to do this by herself. She has something to prove. She has something to prove to her father, something to prove to this mother that's not around. And she really wants to figure it all out by herself, which is very admirable. But there is a point at which you can't grow and you can't do things without someone stepping in and helping you. And we are really coming upon that part with her friend Annie about what role she's playing in all of this. So by the time, like in this scene at the very beginning, we learn in this episode that Annie wanted to be like a makeup and hair person and had offered to do Sophia's hair. So to see her now with her at the pier futzing with the model's hair and makeup, that goes to show that Annie is now involved in her business. She's there as a friend, she's being supportive, and she's using what skills she has to be of assistance to her friend. So that's really, really important and will play a more important role going forward. So that's it. That is episode 5. MySpace, top 8, and the use of social media and how powerful that can be to build your business. So I think I definitely keep recommending the series. I definitely recommend the book. And these are such great points for resellers today. They're all absolutely relevant. And that's it. So again, I've got this change.org petition out. If you go to my Instagram at Jennie Girl's Closet, there's a link in the link tree directly to the petition. You can sign it there. If you leave a comment, it is something that I can tweet out or push on social media. I would love to have you be involved. If you'd like to see a series 2, because a season 2, because this is so relevant. There are so many resellers now, and this content is super, super important. So definitely sign the petition. If you have any questions, you can always be in touch with me on Instagram at Jennie Girl's Closet. And that's it. I'll be going over the rest of the episodes one at a time as fast as I can get it done. And yeah, so I hope you're enjoying this. And that's it. This is Jennie Walker with Closet Conversations, and I look forward to having you with me on a future episode. If you like the song you heard at the beginning, it's called Black Hat, written and recorded by Jennie Walker and Tommy Farragher. It's from the album Night Flight to London, which is available on iTunes worldwide now.
You've probably heard about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sports betting app. But here's something you may not know. FanDuel has a standalone casino app called Betfair Casino. With Betfair Casino, you can play real casino games to win real cash right from your phone. Best of all, you can play your first 24 hours risk-free and up to $200 cash back in site credit if you lose. Download the Betfair Casino app or visit FanDuel.com/Pandora. 21 plus and present in New Jersey. Must have not previously made any real money wagers at Betfair Casino. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You've probably heard about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sports betting app. But here's something you may not know. FanDuel has a standalone casino app called Betfair Casino. With Betfair Casino, you can play real casino games to win real cash right from your phone. Best of all, you can play your first 24 hours risk-free and up to $200 cash back in site credit if you lose. Download the Betfair Casino app or visit FanDuel.com/Pandora. 21 plus and present in New Jersey. Must have not previously made any real money wagers at Betfair Casino. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.